My guest is Ken Fisher. He is the chairman and chief executive of Fisher Investments. We're traveling overseas to look for some specific stocks. Ken Fisher, tell us about a telecommunications company based in Hungary, Magyar Telekom, looking it up, 9% yield.
Well, this is a 9% yield if you move quickly, because this is one that goes X on the 28th. And in my mind, this is sort of an emerging markets play at the same time that it's sort of a reorg function. You get the dividend up front, which I believe you'll also get if you hold it for another year, but they only pay out once a year. Secondarily, they're about to begin a huge and first-time stock buyback program. And the stock buyback program, in my opinion, will not only make earnings per share grow faster than people are expecting, but I think it'll be bigger than people expect. I think that they'll actually have a bigger buyback program than what they've officially announced. Thirdly, basic conditions behind them are favorable after a tough time. It is, in my opinion, the country's best run and managed company. And so you get a fairly safe thing with a guaranteed reasonable upfront return buoyed by the stock buyback. I have a hard time seeing in a region, Eastern Europe, where most people are underweight anyway, why this is anything other than an attractive feature for the next year ahead.
Ken Fisher, why is the region underweight? Is it just because of investor fear right now?
I think it's partially the tradition that it was an area under the realm of the communist bloc on the one hand. On the other hand, proximity to the Middle East. Mind you, I think in the case of Hungary and the Adriatic, that's not a terribly huge concern, but I think a lot of people have traditionally been more oriented to the traditional notion of the BRIC countries, Asia, to some extent Latin America, and therefore they kind of overlook that. But I think when you think about the notion of underweighting something, that's sometimes a good idea to do, but it's always a risk when you're thinking about global opportunities. And in this case, I think this is just a great singular opportunity within Eastern Europe that's just easy to do.
You talk about the ability to go global. Tell us about an electricity generator based in Chile, Empresa de Electricidad. What about the company attracts you? Obviously, tough times in Chile, the rebuilding efforts there following the earthquake.
Well, on the other hand, there's some things we can say about Chile. Fundamentally, of Latin American countries in emerging markets, it's got a very high growth rate compared to its inflation rate. I think it's probably got the singular highest growth rate compared to its inflation rate. In that area, because growth is high, electricity, which we're used to thinking of as being sort of like a utility, is there fundamentally a growth stock function. And so in my mind, I'm looking at 15% growth in fundamentals as Empresa actually sells throughout the fast-growing South American emerging markets. And then fundamentally, the stock is cheap for a growth stock. It's selling at what I see as single-digit PEs, looking at this year's earnings, remembering that we've got growth ahead. So to me, this is a great way to take something that doesn't have high valuations because people think of it as an unexciting area that's fundamentally growth, and doing that in a region that is fundamentally, to me, exciting.
I want to thank you very much, Ken Fisher, Chief Executive and Chairman of Fisher Investments, talking about looking globally for investments, whether it's Magyar Telekom based in Hungary, Empresa Nacional Electricidad based in Chile, or Aluminum Corp of China.